Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. I apologize, last night I got sick, or started feeling really sick, and I do not feel great today, so if this video lacks a little bit of enthusiasm and energy, then sorry about that. But a lot to discuss. It's a huge week at United in terms of transfers, in terms of the deals that we've been discussing for some time now. First and foremost, talk about Frenkie de Jong. I want to discuss exactly where things are at, where things have gone, and the timeline of the whole deal, as well as the overall transfer strategy. As I believed that we have basically, I think I've connected kind of the dots on what United have been doing, the targets, the discussions they've been having, and what's been going on. And some of it is good, some of it is not so good. And I think it's important that we kind of break that down and look at what they are doing moving forward, because it could be a very big week or two. But at the same time, it could be very bad. Not very bad. It's going to be a good week because Frenkie de Jong will come. And I think there's optimism on Christian Eriksen, but we'll talk about that. But it could be a bad week in terms of names and signings after that. And there could be a bit of time before the following signings occur, or it'll be very fast, and I'll explain in a minute. Okay, so let's get into it then. Frenkie de Jong. Early Saturday morning, I was told by a very good source of mine that's been really spot on throughout this transfer that it looked like United would finally be pressing ahead with a deal for de Jong. They've been in discussions. They've been willing to raise the offer since probably 10 days ago, and that they'd finally be moving ahead on Saturday to do this, and it appears they did so. They raised their offer, or communicated this increased offer to Barcelona and their willingness to pay more money. And through Saturday and Sunday, they were in talks over this new offer, the details, the add-ons, the nature of, structure, what do the add-ons include. And my understanding of the situation, based on what I have been told, is they agreed later on Sunday to the general terms of the transfer and fee. And United also have an agreement from de Jong to join. As it stands, the transfer is simply in, going to the details phase, where it's getting done, but there's a lot of boring things to get through at the moment. United, again, they're not briefing like they used to, so they're happy to tell everyone that a deal is getting closer, and they're closing in on it and all of that, but they're not going to jump the gun and say anything is done. But the expectation is not an accident. All these things about how they both sides expect to close it this week prior to June 30th. The exact fee structure isn't known, but what seems to be common knowledge, and the most important part of the fee agreement, is that the fee will reach 80 million euros. Some of the reports in Spain say it's guaranteed 80 million. Some in England say 63 to 65 million euros plus add-ons to 80 million euros. My opinion on that is it'll be probably ends up somewhere in the middle. I believe 63 plus 17 or so was about what was offered on Friday. And it may have changed a bit between Saturday and Sunday towards essentially reaching an agreement. But I think it may be somewhere in the middle with some pretty easy add-ons, so Barcelona can paint it as they're going to get 80 million out of this deal, which is how they've wanted to always present the situation. That 80 million euros number was a number that was presented to me before, about a week ago or before, or earlier, that was going to be the price that got a deal done. I think that praise is due where it's worthwhile, because if that is the final figure of the deal, 63 plus 17 or in that range, it's obviously a great deal. Way back when, I think I said they shouldn't pay over 60 plus add-ons, because you look at the whole situation for Barcelona and it just makes sense not to overpay or not to give them a huge fee. So I think that they've done a good job getting the fee down. But I think this does also need to be balanced with the reality of the situation that United is in and how this affects everything else. What I can say for sure, said in Discord, on Twitter, United have known the 80 million euros package would get the deal done for quite a while. I think waiting probably helped force Barcelona to accept a lower guaranteed fee, but I'm not sure whether it's going to turn out to be a good move at the end of the day, or whether it was entirely necessary. Let's see where it shakes out in the end and what they pay in the end. I think it's a very good deal, but the biggest concern is how it's affected our other transfers. So the timeline of this deal I want to run through because it's important, and we'll lead into the next section. The timeline of this deal is not what it appears, mostly because of the whole Romero stream on May 12th saying 95% likely to occur. It's just not true. I get that he wasn't saying 95% done, although in his initial tweet he did say that there was a deal that was 95% closed, and that was not the case. And a 95% probability is very high considering the situation. It was false at the time to say that. There's many chances that this deal could not have happened still. And that's where I think they deserve a little bit more praise and credit for getting it over the line in the end, despite some other concerns. United contacted Barcelona well before that to find out about De Jong's availability, because Barcelona were making it clear they needed to sell and get rid of some players and shift things. And they found out that Barcelona would not only be open to sell De Jong, but that they likely needed to sell De Jong. Around May 8th, United contacted De Jong's representatives and camp and asked about his willingness to join United. And at that time, he said he absolutely did not want to leave, intended to stay. And if he did, he wanted to choose where he would go. And to a club with Champions League. That was actually 100% true. That is what he said. He had not given the green light to United or said that he would join. He was quite upset at the situation. Over the ensuing weeks, Ten Hag had multiple calls with him and his representatives, and he laid out to him how he would be the foundation of his entire team, that he wanted to build the entire midfield, the whole plan around him, and how vital he was to it. It was always going to come down to Ten Hag's influence as to whether or not this deal could happen. So United then got in touch with Barcelona earlier in June, and right at the beginning of June, and this basically was forced forward even before they'd gotten the green light from Frenkie de Jong, because they lost out on their other targets. Liverpool jumped in for Darwin Núñez, Jurrien Timber was looking to stay, and they realized that they needed to press ahead now and move fast as things were getting ugly. They couldn't wait much longer to move forward and make sure that this was a deal they could do. They asked for De Jong's answer around week ending June 8th, and he gave that he was open to the move around that time. This is why the club have not walked away from it. This is why the club have not gone anywhere. They were sure from that time that they could get a deal done, and they were confident. So, given how important the signing would be and how important the midfield would be, they were okay with missing out on a couple of other targets to make sure they get Frenkie de Jong in the end. They pressed ahead and made an offer to Barcelona the next week of around 60 plus 10 million euros, which was rejected. Not an official bid, this was in discussion. Following that, I understand, though, they were made aware that 80 million euros would be the price. So now we're talking about somewhere around the 14th or 15th of June. And while there was uncertainty as to how much needed to be guaranteed versus the easy add-ons and the structure, and it's taken a while to get it done from there till this last weekend when they made an offer they believe was acceptable, the details are being ironed out. They did know that an offer around 80 million euros would get the deal done most likely, and that is what Barcelona wanted. So they knew that for a few weeks. And the holdup isn't, to me, really Murtaugh and co. Barcelona have always preferred a deal before June 30th, so the money that they receive from the sale and the wage savings can factor into their revenue calculations to determine next season's wage cap. July 1st is the cutoff for that. They have to submit this year's end-of-year financials by that time. They need the money. The deal agreed. They can write the wholesale all at once. And that will raise revenues, raise the bar, and give them a better wage cap next year so that they can register more players. They will have money following the sale of the economic levers they're doing, but they will not still have the wage space they need to do everything they need without getting that wage cap up and De Jong's wages off of the books. So hopefully, this is kind of the factor all the way through this last weekend. And hopefully in following along since the beginning on these videos and through all the updates, I was able to shed some light on this. I understand the strategy that United have put things off to get this done, and I still firmly believe, and have stated many times, that this is a coup. And it's so important getting Frenkie de Jong in. It's unbelievably important. We've neglected the midfield forever. I mean, Fred was the last major midfield signing, and he's been improving year over year, but Matic is gone, Pogba's gone, Juan Mata is gone. We're kind of out of options. And this is a huge, huge deal. This one signing probably improves us more than any other potential or possible signing we could have made. The concern that I have is how this affects the other deals that United are working on. As I've said before, they are laying the groundwork on multiple deals. They have been over the last couple of weeks. But as I also tweeted, the concern I had as things started to come together and I understood what was going on is that they were not competing. You can't lay the groundwork for deals and then expect them to stay the same. Things don't stay static. You're not competing against yourself. You're competing against time and other clubs. And the reason you're competing against time is that the influence of other clubs changes things. This is a market. Supply and demand are the primary driving factors of market prices. And as players come off the books and as clubs continue to sell the players they're willing to sell, their supply goes down and they can raise the prices on the players that they have. So, that's the concern I have. They've been working on other deals, but the issue is the club just do not have the freedom or the funds given to them, no matter what Arnold says on video, to go out and say, buy Nunez for 80 million euros back in May, while they're working on De Jong for a deal potentially of 80 million euros. They don't have the money for that. They don't have the freedom to do that. And they don't even have the freedom to go and buy Martinez for 40 million euros. Earlier in June after Timber's rejection. It's just a limitation that we as United fans a bit have to accept about how the club is run, and it's I don't know whether it's permanent or whether it's something that will change. It's been the case for a long time. Under Joel Glazer and Ed Woodward. There's a new structure, there's a new everything, the new CEO, maybe. I think I've said before in some of these videos, I have concerns. This summer there's money available. Richard Arnold hinted in that video there's not money available next year. If United do not succeed, if United miss Champions League, if they're not winning, if they're not an attraction, if they cannot make a splash to attract more sponsors and people, there won't be the money next summer. Understand that. They will not have this kind of money next summer without some success. They just won't. They need the success. They need things to happen to bring the revenues back up, to increase the value of the club and to change the image and start being able to bring sponsors back. It's not really, I mean, they can say it's because of the fans protesting and things, and that may have a factor, but only when compounded with poor results on the pitch and a lack of success on the pitch. So they've got to work this out, but it's just a limitation we'll have to accept now. And perhaps if things do go well, Ten Hag does really well with this team, we get some good results this year, there will be a bit more freedom offered to Murtaugh and the people involved to get deals done simultaneously rather than they have to wait to finish one to get approval. And this is why it takes a long time to get these offers in. Every single iota, every single period changed in an offer has to go upstairs to get approved, to get signed off on. They don't go and say, okay, Murtaugh, fly to Barcelona, you've got 80 million, figure a deal out and pay it on whatever terms, installments, just get a good deal. They're not given that freedom of decision making, and that is the biggest slowdown in the transfers for United. So here's what happened. Here's what's happened overall. At the start of the summer window or before that, Timber, Nunez, and De Jong were the main targets, while working on Frenkie de Jong as the main priority. Because of the costs necessary, the club have lost out on Jurrien Timber, who's decided to stay, and Darwin Nunez, who joined Liverpool after they came in for him and purchased him. The main alternates for Timber are Lisandro Martinez and Pau Torres, while for Nunez it appears to be pretty much just Antony. Here's where it gets a bit ugly and why I have concerns over the strategy. And as I said, I think the blame is above Murtaugh and co. Around June 18, United knew what it would take to get De Jong. And then what happened? Arsenal submitted a bid for Martinez at 30 million euros. United had been working on this deal or keeping an eye on it. They've been working on a deal for Antony. And then Ajax agreed to sell Haller, casting doubt on Antony leaving. So earlier in the week, when you saw this sudden flurry last week of looking at an offer for Martinez, 40 million going over to buy Antony, United got spooked. They knew what the price would be for De Jong by that time, so they knew how much money they could potentially offer even if they couldn't close a deal. But these were their alternates, and now they might miss out on them too. That's what they were worried about. They got that Arsenal might buy Martinez, and they got that Ajax had started raising prices on their players following the departures of 4 or 5 major players from Ajax. Unfortunately, they were rebuffed in that £40 million offer for Antony that was communicated and told that the price had gone up for Antony, ironically, to near the price of Darwin Nunez that they passed on before, and for Martinez, the price had gone up as well. Make no mistake about it, unfortunately, United are in danger of missing both. There is no guarantee they get either of them from Ajax. In fact, it's more likely they could only get one if they get any. During this time, Lyon also made a third offer at the end of last week for Malacia, and it is currently debated or in question whether that deal is really done and agreed or not. These are major names, and the problem with waiting and focusing on one is the players start coming off the board, other clubs come in and make offers, and the prices go up, and United are not in a position to tell someone, just wait for us, just wait. They can't do that. The market is not static. Things move and things change. And I believe this is what finally put the pressure on the top to get it done. But it could be a bit too late. There's a reasonable chance United miss out on their 2 top targets for forward and for center back. Arsenal have submitted a new 40 million euros bid now for Martinez, and Ajax may accept it. United are set to have talks with Ajax this week regarding their players of interest. So here's the rundown on where things stand on the ensuing targets. And again, as I said, they'll get De Jong in, but this is where I'm saying things have to move quick now, or they are in danger of after De Jong, who knows. Tyrell Malacia is absolutely of interest, someone that Ten Hag would like to bring in. I don't know if the deal to Lyon is done or not. It's been reported that it is by Fabrizio Romano. It's been reported by it's not by the Telegraph today. I imagine that'll get cleared up in the next day or two, and we will find out. They want 15 to 16 million guaranteed. He would be open to the move to United. Antony is now quoted at 80 million euros. Reports are that he may push to try and get it down, and that would absolutely be necessary, but this deal is not close right now. United do not want to pay more than 50 to 55 million euros or so, and 80 is an absurd fee. If Martinez goes to Arsenal, you see, it's not just on its own here. If Martinez goes to Arsenal, Ajax aren't going to lower their price for Antony after selling another major asset and moving on. I doubt that. So Martinez going to Arsenal could make it even worse, and likely that they miss on both players. With regards to Lisandro Martinez, they contacted his reps to ensure he hadn't already agreed to go to Arsenal and see if he'd be open, as well as gauge his willingness and what the price might be. Arsenal do have their offer in now. So you can see last week they made contact with the reps of Martinez. They looked to an offer for Antony because they knew what it would take to get De Jong done and that they needed to get it done now. But they were starting to worry about losing them. Pau Torres is available for about 45 to 50 million euros. That one is still sitting there as a potential deal they could look to if things do not work out, on the other hand. Christian Eriksen is expected to give his answer, and there's definitely some optimism on United's side. It should be this week. I may hear something later today. This one could be done in an instant. So this is where things stand. It's a bit in flux. United have to move decisively now, or they stand to miss out on further targets beyond their first choice. I'm sure they have no more names on the list, but these are the names they've been working on. These are the names they've built the groundwork on. And at minimum, they need to be able to get De Jong, Eriksen, and one more in short order. After that, they can work on sales, look at other options, other opportunities, and, explore. But they need to get these in, hopefully in the next week or so before preseason, but also before they're off the table and before they really start to miss out on every other deals as time is running out. So that's what I was saying earlier. It's a good week, but it's a really big week for United. They have to be decisive now. Things have to get done quickly. They have to move forward, or they stand to potentially lose out on targets beyond De Jong and Eriksen. And it wouldn't be a disaster. De Jong is a transformative player, but they must be decisive now and move ahead to get these deals done. So that's what I've got. I'll definitely keep you updated as I hear anything else. So thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next one.